Well, hello, fifth graders. Today, I'm outside in my backyard, and the reason is this is a little bit messy, and I could do it in my kitchen, but for today, I think I'm just gonna do it out here in my backyard. Now, if you end up doing this lab in the kitchen today at your house, I highly suggest that you get a rimmed baking tray to do it, or do it in your sink. Because if you end up doing it on a countertop and you end up with a mess, which is possible, it'll go all over your kitchen. So make sure that you're either doing this outside in a place where it's not gonna matter, or over a sink, or over at least a baking sheet with a rim, because otherwise you can end up with a mess. So anyway, I sent out an email a couple of days ago listing some of the ingredients that you're gonna need for the lab today if you choose to do this lab. And I've got all those ingredients here right in front of me. And in a minute, I'm gonna start this lab for you. Now, if you choose to do this lab on your own, I am gonna tell you a point in this video today to stop, pause the video, and then go do the lab, and then come back to the video. But for those of you that are going to just watch me do the lab because maybe you don't have these ingredients at home and it's just not gonna work out for you, that's fine. I'm gonna do the lab for you today here in my backyard on this tray with my ingredients, and then, yeah, so then you'll get to see it that way. But you've been reading and learning about chemical reactions, and what we're gonna talk about first today are the 6 things that are the 6 primary things that you will see if there's a chemical reaction happening. And that's kind of how you can tell. So here I've got my whiteboard, and I have all 6 things listed here. Now, the first thing you might see in a chemical reaction is a precipitate being formed. Now, precipitate is usually a solid that forms due to a chemical reaction, and often that's in a liquid, but sometimes it's just a result of a chemical reaction and it just appears. So chemical reactions can be really interesting because they will form precipitates sometimes. Other times, there might be a gas that is formed, and you can sometimes see that if it's a closed system like the one we're going to use today. So we're going to watch to see if there's a gas formed. Another thing that you'll often see in a chemical reaction is temperature change. Sometimes things will get hot, sometimes they will get cold. So we're going to look for that today as well. Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at also is energy release. Energy release typically comes in the form of heat or light being released. So think fireworks. That's a very typical example of that. Color change. Sometimes a chemical reaction will cause a change in color in the elements or substances that you're using in the reaction. And then finally, sometimes tarnish will form. We're not going to see this today. This is usually like if you're talking about rusty metal sitting out in the rain or something like that. So like silverware, if it's real silver, sometimes it'll darken and get a tarnish on it. So these are the things that are the 6 things we mainly see in a chemical reaction. And you probably read these in that chart in your science book in the lesson that we're working on right now. So these are the things that we are going to look for today to see if we have a chemical reaction occurring. Now, before we go any farther today, in our Zoom session this week, you did this paper. We did this together to kind of set up the idea of our lab that you're going to be doing today. And the pages that you're going to need right now, there's just one. That's the second page here. And it's the one that says observation and drawing after. Now, I just went over the things that you might see in a chemical reaction. And what I'd like you to do is this. After this is over today, what you're going to do is draw a picture of the end result of the chemical reaction that either you're going to watch me do or you're going to do yourself. And then down here at the bottom, the question says, what are 3 pieces of evidence you observed that let you know a chemical reaction is occurring? So what you're going to do is you're going to look for 3 things on this list here that you see occurring in the chemical reaction today, either if you did it yourself or through watching me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this lab. Now, if you're going to do this lab on your own, then I have instructions for you that I'm going to send out via email, and it will tell you exactly what to do. But basically, you're going to start this lab in the same way that I'm going to start it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Ziploc baggie like this and just kind of set it aside. Then I'm going to get those 2 cups, and I'm going to put my 2 substances into the cups that we talked about. Now, the first thing is our baking soda, or otherwise known as sodium bicarbonate. That's what scientists would call this stuff, but we just call it baking soda. That's kind of our household everyday name. Now, I've got a 1/4 cup measure here, and you'll see that I've not quite filled it all the way. I've left a little bit of room. I don't want quite a 1/4 cup, but just a little less than that. So you can see how I have some of it still kind of empty inside the cup. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put that into my first cup here. Then I'm going to get substance number 2. And again, this one, its household name is vinegar, but really this is basically acetic acid. Now, if we had pure acetic acid, we wouldn't just want to handle it like this. Vinegar is actually watered down acetic acid. If we had real acetic acid and doing this experiment, we would end up with stuff everywhere. But we're using a watered down version of acetic acid that we call vinegar, but it's basically acetic acid with some water mixed into it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a full cup of this, just about a full cup. And now this is why I have my tray, one reason I have my tray. So I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly pour that into my cup here. So now I have my 2 substances here in my cup. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust my camera here just a little bit so that you guys will be able to see a bit better. I'm gonna tip it down just a little bit, and I'm gonna zoom it in just a little bit here so that you can see a little bit better what's gonna go on with this reaction today. Okay, now this is the tricky part, but if you're careful, you can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna set this stuff aside so that you can see. All right, so the next thing I wanna do is open up my bag, and I wanna place my 2 cups inside the bag. And I want them to be a little far apart in the bag. And I'm gonna adjust it so there's nothing wrinkled underneath. And then I wanna take out, not take out all the air, but I wanna kind of pinch my bag down at the top. And then I wanna make sure that you know, you can hear and feel the zippiness as you zip a Ziploc bag shut. Make sure you feel that zippiness because you want this to be a closed system. You don't want any of these substances escaping the bag, and you don't want anything created by this chemical reaction escaping the bag either. So now what you're gonna do, if you're doing this on your own, basically you're gonna pick up 1 cup, pick up the vinegar, and then inside the bag, you're gonna pour it into the cup with the baking soda, all right? So, if you're gonna do this on your own, stop the video, go do it, and then come back and restart the video and you can see my reaction that I get here, okay? So stop the video now. If you're gonna do it on your own, I'll give you a second to do that. No spoilers. Okay, so everybody who's gonna go do it on their own has already paused and they have left. So those of you that are gonna watch me do it here we go. So what I'm gonna do is pour the vinegar into the baking soda, and then I'm gonna kind of shake it up a little bit, all right? Because I wanna get as much of the baking soda saturated with the vinegar as I can. So, ready? All right, here we go. Woo. Okay, I'm putting it up to the camera a little bit. Oh shoot, I have a leak. That's okay. Now, if you can see here in the bottom of the bag, you'll notice there's a lot of bubbling going on. And what else do you notice about this bag? Wow, it blew up like a balloon, didn't it? Now I want you to think a little bit. What is it that caused this bag to blow up like a balloon? Now, when I'm feeling the bottom of my bag here, it feels almost as cold as ice all of a sudden. That's an interesting observation, okay? So what we can see here in this bag is that we had a gas form. It blew up this balloon, it blew up this bag like a balloon. It also, we have a good amount of temperature change here. The bottom of my bag is quite cold. It's almost as cold as if you were holding a bag of ice. So we have a little bit of a temperature change here. Now, when we look at our list over here of all the things that could possibly happen with a chemical reaction, we definitely have several of these here. So, what I'd like you to do right now is this. I'd like you to go ahead and take the video, stop it, And I'd like you to go ahead and do this second page here of the packet. I'd like you to draw what happened, and I would like you to list 3 things that you saw as a result of this chemical reaction. And then at the bottom of the page it says, what did your observation tell you about what happens when 2 substances chemically react? So what did you see happen here that let you know a little bit about something that happens when 2 chemicals react with each other? So here's what I'm gonna do. Hi. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up, and I'm gonna go inside, and I'm gonna make one more video that that you're gonna follow along with for the 3rd page of the packet that you printed out. So if you've done this on your own, you should be cleaning up. If you're just watching, go ahead and stop the video, grab that 3rd page and a pencil, and we're gonna do that 3rd page together, because what I'm gonna do is explain to you with molecules what actually happened during this chemical reaction. Because we no longer have acetic acid and sodium bicarbonate in this bag. We've created a new substance, or 2, and we're gonna talk about what those are, okay? So go ahead, stop the video, go grab that paper and a pencil, and I'll meet you inside.